The Intellectual Lineage of Viscoplastopology Theory and Neuropsychology Part 1, number 1672, the 5th of June 2026, Gerald C. Shu, EclaireMD Foundation, category, Neuroscience. Preface for readers: eat more protein and vegetables. Eat less red meat and processed food. Reduce portions if overweight. Eating a little less will not hurt you. Overeating for years will. Exercise daily. Walk at least 7,000 to 8,000 steps. Drink 85 to 100 ounces to 0.5 to 3.0 liters of water daily. Sleep 6 to 7 hours each night. Manage stress. Avoid draining people and unnecessary conflicts. Put your health first. Wealth, fame, and power mean little without health and life. Preface: this paper is important to me because it explains the intellectual lineage of Viscoplastic and Topological Theory (VPT). It describes where VPT came from, not merely what VPT does. VPT did not emerge from mathematics alone, nor from medicine alone. It developed at the intersection of topology, geometric connectivity method, viscoplastic energy methods, neuroplasticity, stroke recovery, and my own 17-year journey as both a medical investigator and a patient. Many scientific papers focus on results. This paper focuses on origins. It attempts to explain how previously separate disciplines gradually converged into a unified framework following my stroke and subsequent recovery. Introduction to parallel investigations. I am currently writing 2 papers in parallel. Although both originated from my stroke recovery journey, they address very different questions. The first paper, No. 1671. VPT analysis of my 11-month post-stroke recovery energy and trajectory evolution, is primarily a technical and quantitative investigation. Its focus is the physiological system itself. Using glucose, pulse pressure PP, and systolic blood pressure SPP, I analyze viscoplastic energy contributions, trajectory evolution, pivot points, data connectivity among variables, and the geometric and topological characteristics of recovery pathways. In simple terms, that paper asks what happened to the physiological system, and how can VPT explain its behavior. This paper, No. 1672, is a qualitative narrative piece which asks a different question: where did VPT come from, and why did topology suddenly become important in my research work after the stroke on June 21, 2025? The first paper studies the data. The second paper studies the origin of the ideas. Together, they form 2 complementary perspectives. One focuses on scientific observations, while the other focuses on the intellectual journey that led to those observations. The foundation before the stroke. Before my stroke, my work already incorporated substantial engineering, mathematics, physics, artificial intelligence, and biomedical modeling. Under suggestion from my mid-advisor, Professor Norman Jones in December of 2020. Over past 6 years, I expand viscoplastic energy concepts from traditional engineering and trajectory-based analytical methods into biomedical research work. These approaches eventually became my viscoplastic medicine theory (VMT). However, despite my mathematical background, topology was totally absent from my ongoing 17 years of medical research work. Prior to October of 2025, my medical research work analyses focused primarily on energy accumulation trajectory, evolution, directional movement, inflection points, pivot point identification. These engineering concepts are partially geometric in nature as well. They describe states, shapes, directions, and movement through time. Topology was present in my educational background back to 1967-1968, but it remained completely dormant for decades. Neuroplasticity and the reappearance of topology. Following my hemorrhagic stroke on June 21, 2025, I experienced something unexpected. During the first 3 months of recovery, my primary focus was on understanding and coping with my memory loss. Like many stroke survivors, I was concerned about what had been lost and whether those memories would ever return. Then, one day in early October 2025, while walking in a nearby park, a forgotten word suddenly surfaced in my mind: topology. I immediately recognized the term. It was a subject I had studied nearly 6 decades ago, during 1967-1968 in my mathematics curriculum under Professor K. H. Tang, the father of Professor C.C. Tang, the mid-physicist who later received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1976. The experience surprised me because topology had played no role at all in my entire professional life for many decades. Although I had learned it as an undergraduate student, the subject had remained largely dormant in my memory. After returning home in October 2025, I searched online for topology textbooks and reference materials to refresh my understanding. During the following month, I systematically reviewed the subject and gradually regained familiarity with many of its concepts and principles. By December 2025, I began applying topological concepts to my medical research. What started as a memory recovery exercise soon evolved into a new research direction. During the subsequent 6 months, I produced approximately 130 topology-based medical research papers. As the work progressed, I recognized that topology was naturally complementing my existing viscoplastic framework. This eventually led me to combine the two concepts into a new term, Viscoplastopology (VPT), representing the integration of viscoplasticity, topology, trajectory evolution, geometry and data connectivity, plus biomedical dynamics within a unified analytical framework. During recovery, certain mathematical and engineering concepts that had remained inactive for decades gradually became accessible again. One of these concepts was topology. Another one was stochastic probability, which I studied at Civil Engineering Department of UC Berkeley in 1979, almost 5 decades ago. This observation led me to an unusual question. Did I recently learn topology? The answer is no. I had studied topology 59 years earlier. However, because topology played little role in my engineering career, business activities, or my early biomedical research, the subject remained largely dormant in my memory for many decades. Although the knowledge was never completely lost, it was rarely used and gradually faded from my active thinking. My understanding of neuroplasticity offers one possible explanation. The stroke may have damaged portions of the neural pathways connecting neurons in different regions of the brain. However, the knowledge itself may not have been completely lost. Instead, the connectivity among previously established memories and concepts may have been weakened. As recovery progressed, neuroplasticity gradually established new neural pathways. These newly formed connections may have restored access to knowledge that had remained dormant for many years but was still stored within older neural networks. In other words, the knowledge itself may not have been lost. Instead, the pathways need to access it may have been disrupted and later rebuilt during recovery. In my own experience, this process felt similar to opening an old drawer and discovering forgotten files that had been stored there for decades. The files were never thrown away. They remained in the drawer all along. What had been lost was simply the ability to find and access them. Once the drawer was reopened, the old information became available again. In my personal experience, it felt less like learning something new and more like rediscovering something that had always existed. This is part 1.